We're in the mitosis. Mitosis is cell division. So every time the cell need to divide, the DNA need to duplicate. And then the cell divide into two complete new cells. And that's mitosis. So in the mitosis, definitely a big important part is the DNA part. We're going to focus on the DNA part. When they duplicate and what events happen. So before the cell division happens, DNA have to duplicate, and eventually you can divide to two daughter cells with exactly the same DNA. And there's another kind of cell division called meiosis. That's the case. Meiosis is the case you actually want the DNA number to be half. That's when we produce sperm and egg. So the sperm will fertilize the egg and they meet together. And if you keep the DNA number, chromosome number the same, the offspring, their DNA number will double. So that's the case. You actually have to decrease the chromosome number to half, and that's meiosis. So today our main focus is mitosis. That's the cells in your body, normal cells, they duplicate. So why do we need to do mitosis? We need to grow, and we need to repair damaged cells. And for some organisms, mitosis is the way they reproduce, like the E. coli, it's a single cells creature, and they duplicate. They do mitosis and they also duplicate. So that's mitosis. And in certain situation, we have to do meiosis, and that's when we produce the egg and sperm. So the DNA number need to decrease to half. And when the egg and the sperm meet, you have the same amount of 46 chromosomes. So that's the difference between mitosis and meiosis. So no matter which one, we're going to focus on the DNA. So let's review the DNA. It's double helix structure. We talk about they are made of 4 different nucleotides, A, T, G, and C. And A will pair with T, G pair with C, because one big one pair with a small one. So eventually the double helix, the distance between those two nucleotides will keep the same. And the DNA is a long sequence. Over 90% of the DNA, they don't code protein. So only less than 10%, they can be transcribed to mRNA and then translated to protein. So if they code protein, we call them gene. So not all DNAs are genes in this long DNA sequence, and this DNA is being condensed to become chromosomes. Only a certain part of them, we call them gene. Genes means those DNA sequence, they can really code for proteins. And inside the nucleus, most DNAs are loose. We call them chromatin. So sometimes I call them spaghetti. They look loose. So this loose DNA is called chromatin, and that's when you can use those DNA really do the transcription and translation, because you need those enzymes to help those process to happen. And when they pack together, you have those chromosome structure, and that's when the cell division need to happen. They need to pack together, because there's no way those loose chromatins inside the whole nucleus, you are able to use it. So you have to pack them together, use the histone protein. It's a protein, and DNA just wrap them, become a tight structure. It's called the chromosome. And this duplicated chromosome, you have two arms. So each one is called arm. It's called the sister chromatid. sister chromatid. So these two called sister chromatid. And the end part is called the telomere. We talk about this structure. The telomere is the end part, and its function is associated with aging, because apparently, every time the mitosis happens, the chromosome divide, the telomere getting shorter and shorter. So eventually, when you divide enough times, you reach the situation that you just could not divide again, because the telomere become too short. So it limits our biological age. And the second one is called the chromosome. Okay, and we totally have 23 pairs of chromosomes. So the first 22, the male, female are the same. The last one is called the sex chromosome. So apparently the male and female are different. If it's female, it's 2X. And if it's male, it's X and Y. So the other 22 pairs, we call them autosome. They are exactly the same. And you find these ones actually have 20 extra pairs of 21 chromosomes. This is the Down syndrome. So autosomes supposed to be the first 22 pairs. Each one will have two. That's the autosome. Okay, so mitosis versus meiosis. We're going to focus on mitosis in this topic. That's the normal cell division, and can be divided into three big phases. So you start from one cell, end up with two daughter cells, two identical daughter cells. So before they divide, the first thing is DNA. We're going to focus on the DNA. DNA need to duplicate. So it happened in the interphase. Interphase is the time DNA duplicate. Also, the cell need to do their job. That's the interphase. Like skin cells, they're supposed to protect you. It happened in interphase. And if it's stomach cells, it's supposed to release stomach acid. And that happens in the interphase. That's when the cells do their normal job and also DNA duplicate. And now they are ready to divide. When they are dividing, that phase called mitosis. So mitosis is the dynamic dividing time. So apparently there are different events happening during mitosis. So we will divide mitosis into different subphases. And that's the dynamic situation. Eventually, the cell membrane divides, and now you have two complete cells, and that's called cytokinesis. And after cytokinesis, you have two complete new daughter cells. Okay, so let's look at the DNA. DNA, when they condensed, we call them chromosome. So they attach to the histone protein. And before they divide, they need to duplicate. So you have two sister chromatids. You have double. And then in the centrosome part, they will be pulled apart. So eventually you end up with two. Each one daughter cell has one chromosome. And in our 23 pairs of chromosomes, humans have 23 pairs. The first 22 are homologous chromosomes. Homologous chromosomes are they carry the same gene, maybe different allele. In your high school biology, you may learn, okay, well, you have the dominant recessive one, or two dominant one, or two recessive one. We call them allele. There are different versions of genes, could be dominant, could be recessive, but they're the same genes. So if these two, this one pair, these two chromosomes, they carry the same gene, we call them homologous. And then the last pair is sex chromosome. Sex chromosome, if it's male, it's X and Y, and we know they're different. So it's called the non-homologous. But if it's female, it's XX. So if it's female, the last pair, they're still the same. So they're still homologous chromosomes. So it depends on the gender. And definition of homologous chromosomes are they are exactly the same. So they carry the same genes. They carry the same genes. That's homologous chromosome. Okay, and one more terminology, diploid. So what's diploid? That's the somatic cells. They are diploid because there are two of each type of chromosome. That's diploid. So diploid chromosomes, you have 46. We have 46. Human have 46. Always say 23 pairs. And that diploid means you have double. So 23 come from father, 23 come from mother. And we have diploid, we must have haploid. So what's haploid? Haploid is you only have one of each chromosome type. And that's in the gamete. Gamete is the word to say the egg and the sperm. They're haploid. So you only have 23. You don't have in the sperm and egg, you only have 23, not 23 pairs. So they are haploid cells. Okay, let's take a short break.